This is a prepaid call from
Broken to Redemption, yeah, that's my squad.
Was all a dream. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this.
Oh, God. I need you to get me out again, God. I'm locked up behind these walls again, God. I got these chains, I'm shackled from my hands to my feet. If you get me out this one more time, God, I promise.
Broken to redemption.
inmate at the county correctional facility. All phone calls are subject to recording and monitoring. To decline this call, press 9 now, and to accept this call, press 1 now. Thank you.
Your call has been accepted. It was all a dream.
Broken to redemption.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Broken to Redemption podcast. I am your host, Brandon Scotto. Today I have a guest from Tennessee. She's going to come in and share about her childhood, where addiction took her, and her prison sentence, and why she changed. So let's go ahead and bring her in.
Hey, how are
Hey.
you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yep. So my name is Lara. I'm 40 years old. I'm from East Tennessee. I would say growing up, I had a pretty normal childhood. Aside from a few minor factors, probably. I grew up in church. I was in sports. I had really loving grandparents who did everything with me, showed up for everything. Um, I didn't have my dad around for about the first 15 years of my life, and I think that had a big impact on me. He was away in the military and just like some family things between him and my mom. I'm still not real clear on everything, but anyways, so when I got up into my early teens, I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. And growing up, I was never around drugs, never exposed to drugs, but I was definitely exposed to it when I got a little bit older. So, anyways, that happened. I ended up having a baby at 16. And from there, things just kind of like spiraled out of control. And for no good reason, because I had a good support system. So that led me to being addicted to Oxycontin, to selling and being around cocaine, crack, because that was like the thing, then, to getting a federal indictment and getting 126 months in federal prison. So, and then I came home. I made up my mind in there that this wasn't the life I was going to live, and I'll be home 6 years in February. And I've completely changed my life. Aside from speaking about it and trying to help other people, it's almost like it never really happened. So,
So you say you would say your childhood was loving and stable.
for the most part, there was a little bit of alcohol around and involved, but like I wasn't like, you know, beat or anything like that. I just, like I said, I had really loving grandparents, aunts, uncles. They had a big family, and I was really raised in church. That was a big part of our lives, and just doing a lot of family things. My papa was my best friend. I spent every single day I spent time with him, and so he was a really important factor later on too.
So what role did your grandparents, especially your papa, play in shaping who you were early on?
So early on, my grandparents, my granny and my papa both instilled in us, me and my sister, the Bible. They read us the Bible, they taught us the Bible, we prayed, they taught us the importance of prayer and the things that God can do in your life. And it was just really instilled us. Going to church wasn't, an option, but it didn't just stop at church. Like I seen it because my grandparents lived it. I never seen them argue. I never seen them fight. I never seen my papa disrespect my grandma. And they just had it was a really good example of what things should be. So,
So would you say the relationship with your grandfather influenced you throughout your whole life?
oh, for sure. Still does. But
Okay.
I mean, he was just like the best person in my life. I mean, every great memory that I have involves him, and he was just very special to me, and I was very, very special to him. So I lived with them. I lived with them a lot, even up until, adulthood. When I had my second son, that's where I was living. So he played a huge role in my life. Like,
When you say you begin filling emotional gaps in unhealthy ways, what do you think these gaps really were?
uh, I would say that I mean, in school, it used to bother me when they would say things when people would talk about like, "Oh, what does your dad do for work?" You know how they ask you like all those questions in
Yeah.
school? Well, I never could like really answer any of that. And I think that that really, really inside of me as a young girl bothered me. And so finally, when I was shown attention aside from my papaw, it didn't matter if it was a bad influence or a good influence. I liked it. So, I chased it.
I was the same way because I didn't grow up with my mom and dad. I was raised by my grandmother. And I remember getting out of class when I was really young, right? I'd be waiting outside, waiting for my grandma to come pick me up. And
Mhm.
I'd see all these kids that had their mom and dads picking them up. And I always got picked on because I didn't have my mom and dad. And I would always wonder, well, where are my mom and dad? Right. And it like
Yeah.
as a kid, you don't understand the reasoning behind it. Like, because my family had family issues, drugs, and whatever else, right? As a kid, you never really understand it. Like, yeah, you can just say, "Oh, my mom and dad aren't present," but, like, what's the factor there? Why aren't they? But we're too young, we don't understand it.
Right, right. Yeah, all you see are like happy families and stuff. And
Yeah.
I mean,
I
your
used to be
grandparents love you and they try to fill that void. But my
exactly.
mom was there. She just worked a lot. She worked a whole lot. So in a sense, to me, it was kind of like my grandparents raised me because a lot of times they took us to school, they picked us up, they fed us dinner,
Yeah.
and so, yeah.
So, how did becoming a mother at 16 change your sense of responsibility and pressure overnight?
So that was back in 2002. And like having a baby at 16, I mean, it's still not like really accepted, but it's a whole lot more lenient now than it was back then. And so I had a lot of pressure on me too, like as far as like what the school system was going to do when I was out and this and how was I going to. So I was able to like co-op, but I think the amount, and I had a lot of help. So I'm going to put that out there. But
Okay.
still, I felt like I just wasn't capable. And I mean, I was a child. So really, I mean, I was barely 16 when I had him. So the pressure from it, I feel like finally at one point I was just like, this is just too much. I can't be a teenager and raise a baby at the same time. And I know that's a horrible thing to say because there's lots of people that have babies young, but I don't really care to admit it. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't like to I had a kid at 15, 16, and to be honest, it scared me, right? How I was a kid that always ran from my problems, so what did I do? My addiction and the gang life took me away from him and I ran.
right, yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know,
But by the grace of God, last year was? No, the year before that, God seen fit for him to put him back in my life.
oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a great relationship with both of my kids, especially that one, the 23-year-old.
Yeah.
We have a great relationship and I have a granddaughter now. He has a baby
Oh,
and
wow.
I get to get her and I have a great relationship with her. And kind of in a sense, and I know it's not, but in my mind, like I can do everything with her that I wasn't able to do with him.
Right. So, you said that you always had support. when you had
Mhm.
the baby? There was never a time where you thought you were figuring everything out alone?
Mm, I can't really say there was. I mean, I had a village. There's really no excuse for the decisions I made because I had by this time, my dad was in my life, and I have a wonderful stepmother. So I had like, you know, my mom, my dad, my stepmom, my grandparents on that side. Then I had my grandparents on this side. And then I had my son's dad's family who rallied around me. And they're still dear family to me today. They're family to me. And so and maybe that's why I went in the wrong direction. Maybe I had too much support. Maybe I knew, like, it doesn't matter what I do, he's gonna be well taken care of.
Yeah.
So,
Did you ever feel sheltered at all in your life? Like,
oh,
especially
yeah,
when you had your baby?
well, probably not when I had him, but early on, I felt a little bit like, I don't know, I would say kinda sheltered, but, I mean, obviously it wasn't enough or it was too much, one. Um I felt out of place after I had him, and I think that contributed to a lot of the using drugs later on. Um, because I just felt like, I was watching everybody I went to school with go to prom and do this and do that, and I wasn't gonna get to do those things. So, you know, I don't regret having him young. I regret how I handled it.
So when did you start hanging around the party scene?
So, mm, I would have been probably like 18 before I, really started hanging around it.
Okay.
And You know? So he was 2, that's about right. He was about 2 when, like and I hate to admit this, but they picked him up for a weekend, and they were like and at this point, I wasn't, like, addicted to pills till I mean, it was a few months later, but anyways, and I had my own place, I had a nice home, and we lived there, and but I called, it was too much for them, and they were like, "We're not bringing him back." Like, "You're going out clubbing, you're doing this, you're doing all these things that you don't need to be doing, and we're not bringing him back right now." So then I was like, well, forget it, you know. Um,
So at
oh,
first it was just something fun, and then it kinda moved to a destructive pattern?
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was
How
fun at first, and
it
I
always
mean,
is, huh?
yeah,
It
and other
always
people were
is.
doing it. Yep, and other people were doing it, and then it just got to a point to where they were looking at me like, we're not doing it like to that extreme, or I don't know if my body just got addicted so quickly that I just couldn't get out of it, and then all of that happened all at the same time, like him not being there, and then I think I like lost my job, and then I just started doing the pills way too much, and so at that point I was like, well, there's no point in trying to straighten up now, so then the cycle began.
So what's the timeline from fun to destructive?
Oh, it's just a matter of months. I mean, I literally like tried an Oxycontin, and then within months, I mean, I just like I couldn't quit doing them. I couldn't get off of them.
At what point did addiction start making decisions for you instead of you making them?
I would say I was probably about 8 months to a year in when all of my logic went out the window, and I started realizing like, and I realized it wasn't that I didn't realize. I just kept making the decision to do it. So it wasn't that and then I wasn't able some in a sense of like I could call and get money. I could, you know what I mean? Things like that. It wasn't until a few months later that they were like, we're not paying for your car anymore. And then things really went downhill because now here I am. I've done lost my place, lost my car, pretty much lost my child, you know, and it was quick. It was really quick that all of this happened.
So how long into the addiction did you hit prison? Was that quick too?
18, so it would have been 18, that's no, I'd say 5 or 6 years because I was 23. So,
Okay.
you know, but I
So
had been
before
in jail. So I had spent time in jail before that. So I started getting in trouble. I realized that some of the people I was hanging around were like really big into like selling cocaine and crack. And so then I was like, oh, well, here's a way. If I hang around these people, I'm never going to be sick. You know what I mean? It wasn't
yeah.
so much that I was like, you know, buying ounces and selling it myself. I'm not saying I never did anything like that because I did, but I was not like some queen pin drug dealer. It was more like if I was around them, then I'm not going to have to worry about being sick. Everything was about not being sick at this point. And, but I had several felonies by the time I went to prison for cocaine, every charge, cocaine distribution or, resale, just, things like that. So by the time that I went to prison, I had enough felonies that, they wanted to give me a chapter 4 enhancement for a career criminal. And here I am in my mind, like, you got to, like, what? Like, so it was a pretty
So
wild few years.
so before prison, did you recognize how far you had drifted from the values you were raised with?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, before I went to prison, there was a point where, not right before, but about a year before that, I mean, it had gotten so bad that I didn't have anywhere to go. I mean, I was sleeping in houses with no electricity, no running water at this point. It was a very, very fast, wild few years, and I had a furious addiction that I developed during this time. It was right in the middle of the pill epidemic when people were going to Florida to pain clinics and they were all over Tennessee. And I mean, getting Oxycontin at that point in time was like, you know, not a big deal until it was, and they started shutting them down. So,
So what was it like emotionally to face felony convictions and prison time at such a young age, especially with your upbringing?
so again, I had a good support system even when I was sitting in federal court. I think I had like 26 people there, maybe. I think that's what it was, character witnesses, because the people that were in that room knew me at the core and they knew who I really was, not who addiction had like taken over. There's a one mug shot of me, and I think that you've seen it, where my eyes are literally black. Like there is no life in me. And that was actually right before I went to court for the last time. And, when I went to court, I was facing a whole lot more time. And I think that God just had mercy on me because I was so young. And I know there's younger people that get locked up. I have a friend that was 18, you know what I mean? But they're not getting 10 and a half years either. So, but I was grateful. I didn't cry because I was expecting 15 years or more. So I was very grateful when he said, like 10 and a half years, because I knew that I could be out in 9.5, nine, something like that. And at that point, I had been in trouble quite a bit. And so, I mean, as you see from all the mug shots. So by that point, I'm like, man, let's get this over with, so I can get back out. It wasn't until I came home that reality hit me that I had missed so much of my kids' lives and all of my 20s, you know? So,
Does does Tennessee have like a lot of I know out here, like if you get in trouble or whatever, you have a drug problem, they sentence a lot of people to like drug programs or stuff like that. Are they do they have a lot of that out there, or are they like a no tolerant state where it's like you're gonna go do jail or prison time?
so now they do. Now I feel like they have so many resources for people. Back then, I mean, when I was like getting in trouble, I mean, they had drug court, but it was hard to get into. And the county I'm from didn't have drug court at the time. And all of the rehabs you had to have you had to have health insurance to go to. And they didn't do MAP programs. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
went in there and you detoxed and you know, now there's so many resources. And right before I got in trouble, I actually was given Suboxone one time. And back then it was kind of like it was just the pills, and
Hmm.
I just abused it, you know.
Yeah.
So, because I went to rehab several times in the midst of all this for 30 days, and I would leave or I would, something would happen. I would check out early. I was horrible. I was a horrible person. I'm telling you.
It's funny you say the Suboxone, right? Because out here in the rehabs, the county jails and the prison, they're putting you on it, right? Like you're in prison. What do you need Suboxone for? You're supposed to already be you you ain't supposed to be kicking anymore, right? But they put these dudes on it and they stay loaded the whole prison sentence.
Yeah. So
And
when I left the FBOP, they had just started that where they're doing the MAP program.
yeah,
And they actually called me up to the nurses station. This was in Aliceville, Alabama. And this was a few days before my release. And they were like, hey, we're going to put you on the MAP program. So when you leave, you'll be on Suboxone. Excuse me? No, you're
yeah,
not.
yeah,
I've
nope,
been clean this point, but in the paperwork, all they're looking at or were, I don't know about now, was if you had a history of, a drug problem. If
right,
so, check mark, you're going to be put on this program. Well, I was like, no, I'm not. No, I've been clean too long and I don't even feel the urge. I mean, it's not like you can't get high in prison. It's not a secret to
right,
say that. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And I never had the urge to really do that. So I didn't feel that I needed it. And that would have been the worst mistake for me. I'm speaking about me. And that would have been the worst mistake for me because I know me. And if you send me home with all of this Suboxone or whatever you're wanting to do, I'm just going to figure out a way to abuse it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or I would have. That was my old way of thinking. I didn't want to risk all the things that I had done and just flushing it down the toilet. I wouldn't have done it anyway just because I had made a commitment and I was stronger than that at that point. But the risk would have been there.
So, do you think by them putting people on the MAP program as they're getting out instead of when they get arrested, where they really need it the most, right? Like you said, people use in there, and yeah, I've seen people get strung out in there as well. And
Hmm.
but do you think that by them prescribing that Suboxone when they're getting released is setting a lot of people up for failure?
Yeah, this is a tough subject to talk about because people come for you. But
Right.
my opinion of it is if if they're coming off the streets and they have a serious addiction and they're only doing a year, then I believe, okay, well, then let's use Suboxone or Sublocade or whatever you may need.
Yeah.
But let's do a taper. Let's start a
Right.
taper after 30 days or 60 days. Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
agree. I completely agree.
see if you, I mean, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that they are capable of doing it without it, and they just need to,
Yeah.
like, believe in themselves, you know what I mean? But I do also believe there's a lot of people out here that giving it to them when they come out is setting them up for failure,
Yeah.
and I believe that's the way the government has designed it, you know?
Yeah.
And because what's gonna happen, I know had I gotten released back out a few months into that, and they would have put me on Suboxone, like, what am I gonna do when I run out of Suboxone and I can't get any more? Like,
You're gonna go
I
get
can't go to
heroin.
the doctor or I can't afford a clinic. What do you think
Yep.
I'm gonna do? I'm gonna
Right.
turn to the streets. I'm not gonna sit around and be sick,
Right.
you know? But I also, and I see this in my personal life. I have a family member. I do see where some people get the positive from it. They're able to raise their kids. They're able to, so, I don't really, I just know for me, it's not a good fit. And would it be a
Yeah.
good fit? And I don't want to be on that, but
Right.
it's hard to speak on things when people do come home and they are pretty successful, but then you have others that don't. So,
That's true. That's very true. So how did incarceration change the way you saw yourself as a mother, a daughter, and a woman?
so being in there, I decided to take advantage of everything that they had to offer. And, like this is my personal opinion. I feel like that the FBOP, and I was at 3 different prisons. I feel like they have a lot of opportunities for you to better yourself if that's what you want to do. And yeah, it may just be a course here and there. Some of them offer college courses, some of them offer, like real life experience for jobs and things. And I feel like being in there and being able to do things like that builds your self-worth so that when you return back home, you don't feel as you know what I mean? You come out with something, whether
Right.
it's in reentry and recovery or your HVAC, part of your HVAC or electrical certification. The women can do those things too, or just all kinds of things. I mean, I feel like they offer a lot. And being in there and just seeing people who they're like, "Oh, I've been in here 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, this and that," and it just made me realize, like, this is not the life I'm gonna live. It's not, you know? I mean, I don't know how else to say it besides I just made up my mind. I made up my mind. I lost my papaw when I was in there about a year into holding, and right then oh, excuse me, I was like, "I'm not doing this no more. I'm not gonna disappoint him, and I'm gonna come home and make him proud," and, that's what I'm doing. So going back's not an option for me.
Well, that just answered two of my questions.
Mhm.
So when you first walked into prison, right? What did you think? How did you feel?
Oh, I was like, this is crazy. Like, I cannot believe this is where I'm gonna spend the next, 9.5 years of my life. And but at the same time, I felt kind of like, I don't know, I felt kind of liberated. Like I felt free from all that addiction and running the streets and feeling pressured to be a certain way. And so I was free of all of that. So for the first time in my adult life, I felt like I was able to think clearly and make decisions to set myself up for a good future. As crazy as that sounds, but I felt lighter. I felt healthy. I felt, grateful to be alive at that point.
At least you weren't happy to be there. Like I know me, the first time I went to prison, I've been to prison 5 times.
Mm,
The first time I went there, I was happy to be there, right? I got
yeah,
excited. And every single term after that, I get even more excited, right? Because it's all I've known since I was 12 years old. So when I hit prison the first time, I thought, oh, I made it. I set out to do what I wanted to do. As sick as that sounds, right?
yeah,
Like, because I had this messed up conception of what a man was because of the
right,
people I
right,
hung around with. So I thought it was really cool that I'd end up in prison, and it really wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not cool when you get older and you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
I
Like
missed a lot.
I was talking to somebody else on another episode about like I've been out going on 6 years, and it's a late start for me. Right? Like
Oh yeah,
you have all these normal people, successful people that started when they were supposed to start in life, 18, whatever. They have great jobs, they own homes, they own all of this stuff. But it's like people like us, we got to put in almost triple the work now because
Mhm.
we've wasted so much of our time.
Yeah, that's very true. I've struggled with that myself. The feeling like I'm behind.
Yeah.
Um, just like trying to play catch up, and you can't. You're not gonna
No.
catch up for 20 years that you
No.
threw down the drain. You know what I mean? I
Nope.
mean, it's not reality.
No.
So at this point, the best thing for me to do is to just live in the moment. And if it
Right.
comes, it comes. If it doesn't, I have a really good friend of mine who is like you were talking, she's successful. She lives in a beautiful home. You know what I mean? But she tells me, she's like, what do you mean you're behind? You're right where God wanted you to be. You're not behind. There's nothing set that says that you have to be doing the same things that I'm doing right now in life. And, that really hit home with me because we're two totally different people, but she's one of my dearest friends. And it's true, there's a
Yeah,
reason. I mean,
that is
because if
very
there was
true.
a world without recovering addicts, without returning prisoners, I mean, who's going to turn back around and help the next person if we never existed?
Good point.
So,
Very good point. So, how did thinking about your children influence your mindset during that turning point of being in prison when you said enough was enough?
just watching them grow up. I mean, my littlest one was not even 2, I don't think. And the older one, all I could think about was, I've got to be out of here when he graduates high school. I've got to. I missed everything, elementary school, middle school, you know, and I did. God seen fit and I was out. I was on an ankle monitor, but I was at his graduation. And
Oh, they let you go out?
what by this point I was out. Like,
Oh,
he
okay.
graduated in 2020 and I made it to the halfway house in February and he graduated in like May.
Oh, nice.
So within a matter of months, but I did get to be there. And just watching them grow up, and I was honest with them from day one. Like, you could have asked my 3-year-old back then why I was in prison, and he would have told you drugs,
Oh, wow.
because it was important to me for both of them to understand that it doesn't matter what kind of life you live, doesn't matter what kind of parents you have or don't have, doesn't matter what kind of house you live in. None of that matters. If addiction comes into your life, you can be impacted like this too, and you'll be sitting where I am. So I wanted them to know from a young age, like, I'm in prison. This is what I did, and it could happen to you.
I like that because a lot of parents will just say that the other parent went on vacation or work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, work. Well, you've
Yeah.
been at work for 5 years.
Yeah.
So then I feel like, like you're sheltering your child. And so now, you know, you children in my mind need to be exposed to the bad things of the world that happen, bad and good,
Yeah.
because this is going to teach them in this world that these are real life things that happen to real life families. Like, you don't live in some fairy tale. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like they need to understand that from a young age, and they need to know. And people say, "Oh, you're traumatizing them." Well, I mean, call it what you want, but my 23-year-old is, he's doing great, and my 16-year-old, he does great. So, I mean, you know,
So
they know.
during during that prison sentence, did your family eventually come back when they seen you changing? Or were they always there, like,
Mhm.
visits and all of that?
Yeah, so they brought the kids to visit me, and they were there. They supported me from the beginning because like I said, they know who I am. They knew who the real Lara was. You know what I mean? So they did support me and bring my kids to see me and all of that. So I was very blessed with that, very grateful, because some of the bridges I definitely burnt. They just rebuilt them. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like I never did anything to them, because I did. So,
So what did committing to recovery really require from you mentally and emotionally?
what was important for me mentally was, and this is another controversial thing, is I'm not letting people run me out of my hometown. So, it was important to me to be able to come back to my hometown and stand my ground. And in doing so, I mean, now I don't think there's a person in this county that would offer me a drug or bring drugs, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything like that. because that's just not who I am. I go to my son's football games. I show my face to the same people I grew up and went to school with, and they know where I've been. And I do all of that. And I don't really have any shame. It was important to me to not be ran out of my hometown where my kids are in school and my family is over my choices. I mean, the same way that I chose to do those things, then I can choose not to, and I did. And I set very firm boundaries. I'm a big believer in boundaries. And when people realize those boundaries and realize that you're not playing, they'll leave you alone.
So
And
when
I'm
you,
nice. I mean, I still speak to people and and I have a
yeah,
heart for people. I just, you know what I mean? They know that I'm not about that life anymore. So, and I don't
when,
care what and they're gonna, oh, look at her. And that's fine. You can talk about
right,
me and you can say all these things. I don't care what I used to do. I don't care what I
right,
did one night back in 2010 and you were there. I don't care. I know. I'll tell it. I'll talk
yeah.
about it. So you trying to like beat me down to the point to where I'm gonna go back to that life is useless. You might as well just give it up.
So while you were incarcerated, you earned some certificates and you became a mentor.
Yeah, so I got my business management certification. I got a lot of like certificates from the drug program and I became a mentor in the drug program. That was really important to me. You have to really push and be able to do that. And I knew then I was like, this is something that I do want to focus on when I come home. It took me too long to start sharing my story. Took me about 5 years and I wish I could have done it sooner, but I wanted to be like ready, and in a situation to where that I know that I'm ready. And by this time, I've got respect for my community again and stuff. So it was important to me to be able to to come on here and do this. And I don't care if somebody I went to school with sees it because it's not like it's a secret. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's part of who I am today. And uh, that stuff was important to me.
So how did getting those certificates and becoming a mentor, what did it do for your confidence and self-worth?
Oh, I believe it helped me tremendously. It made it to where when I came home that I had something to, like, bounce off of, you know what I mean? Or, I have a friend who did the dental hygienist, I believe that's what it is, the
Mhm.
program, which is extremely difficult to get into a lot of places. I mean, there's only like 2 people at a time in it. Well, she got into it. So when she came home, she was able to get a job at a big dentist office.
Oh,
And so
wow.
just things like that, like, you know what I mean? And I mean, I have friends in different fields, some that were in HVAC, some that were an electrician, I worked outside on the landscaping crew. And when I came home, I got a job for a big landscaping company up here and I was making really good money. So just things like that, those skills that you learn are very valuable out here. And then they're on my resume.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, why
care.
yeah,
And
why
it
not?
says place of employment, I put FBOP. That's on there.
Yeah, it's experience,
Cause
you
I'm gonna
know?
tell them about it anyway, so I might as well.
Yeah.
And I did like I did Lean Six Sigma when I was in there. I mean, the list is like of all the things that I did or completed, or you know,
So how important was structure and accountability to your success while incarcerated?
very important. Cause it's easy to get lost in there in the not good stuff. And I'm not saying that I never made any bad decisions. I did, but it didn't involve drugs or anything like that. It was just other things. But it's very easy to get complacent in there after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's very important to bounce back and pull yourself up and be like, "Okay, well, that was a little stumbling block because, you know," and then carry on. Pick yourself up and do it again. But if you have that structure and you have that, yeah, and you're holding yourself accountable and you have friends that hold you accountable, then it's a whole lot easier to come up on the other side. than it
It's
is
not
if you surround yourself with negative people. And you know
right.
how it is in there. You've been 5
Yeah,
times. So, you've always got them people in there with their head down. You've always got those people in there, they don't have nothing nice to say. You're at the microwave, they got an attitude every day for 10 years, and then you've always got them people in there that are never gonna stop getting high. They don't, you know,
right.
it is what it is, and that's just the truth. So I surrounded myself, I feel like, with a great group of people. I'm still good friends with them. I've posted pictures of us. We got together for my birthday. A lot of them live here close. I went on the break another podcast, and she's super positive and does all kinds of things. And those were the people that I talked to when I was in there.
So would you say that there was more positive people in that prison than negative? Or was it just who you preferred to hang out with?
Uh,
'Cause
mm,
it sounds like they have a lot of programming there. Like, if you wanna get right,
yeah,
like,
I was
it's
in three
there.
different ones. And so those would have been spread out over three different prisons, and they offered very different things. I would say most people were positive. Most people were happy, which is kind of weird because it's prison.
Yeah.
But most people, and you could be right. Maybe it's just the people I decided to hang around. You know what I mean? But most of the people that I encountered were nice. Like it's not like TV. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely
And
not.
helpful, and there's a lot of women in there that are women's women, wanna see other women winning, doing well, getting their kids back, a lot of helping each other. But then you do have, you're always gonna have them ones, just like you do out here in life.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
they don't want nothing good for nobody.
Yeah. So, when you were released, what was the hardest part about rebuilding life from nothing?
Yeah, just like we were saying earlier, the feeling of being behind, so far behind. And I mean, I remember my son came with my mom to get me, and we stopped at a gas station. They had one of those machines that like makes the milkshake when you put the cup in there. I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And he was like laughing, like, oh my gosh. And just, I don't know. I can't say that I was really scared to come back and like do drugs. I knew that wasn't going to happen for me. I knew it wasn't because I made my mind up that it wasn't. So that decision was made for me. I guess just, yeah, being behind, like, gosh, I should own a house. I should be buying a house. I should, you know, all of that is really, really overwhelming. And,
Yeah.
I don't know how a lot of states are, but coming out in the federal system, you know, they do have resources, but it's up to you to hunt it down. It's up to you to
Yeah.
fill out all the paperwork. It's up to you to do this. So, I mean, we're just coming home. Like the last thing that we really have time to be doing, on top of finding a job, on top of trying to see our families, on top of trying to get clothes, is be filling out 75 applications for housing and food and driver's license. And it is really overwhelming, and there needs to be something else put in place.
Right. So out here, depending on what prison you're at, or they'll sign you up for the ID. They'll sign you up for like food stamps. They'll sign you up for a program, so that way when you hit the gate, you're just not stuck with nothing.
Well, you
Like,
go to a halfway house in the feds, but getting into one where all they don't care about is money is slim to none. You know what I
yeah,
mean? These people are on federal grants. So,
yeah,
it's about volume,
right.
pushing people in and out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm not saying there's not a few in there that want to help people, but how can one person change an entire, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you can go in there and fill out, they'll absolutely give you paperwork. Oh, yeah, this is what you need to do. Da, da, da. It's still, it's a lot. It's too much, in my opinion. It's enough to make me understand why people go back to living the way they used to live. Because it's enough for somebody to say, "Pff, I can't do this. I'm
right.
never going to get this. I'm never going to get my license. I'm never going to get, you know what I mean?" And a lot of people are coming home to charges, especially when you're coming out of state. I mean, you may be facing charges in a county. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And child support, and it's just I can see why it's easier for some people, especially if you don't have a family support system or a peer support system in place to come home and be like, I can't do this. There's no way. It's way overwhelming to me.
Right. For sure. So, how did you maintain sobriety and focus while completing years? What were you on probation? It was parole, no?
Feds don't have parole,
Oh, okay.
probation.
So how did you maintain sobriety and focus while completing your years of probation?
I just I had 8 years probation, which is a crazy amount for the feds. Most people get 2 years, 5 years. And I didn't really mind it because I wasn't doing anything wrong anyway.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really that big of a hassle for me. What was a big hassle was when I was on like the color code because the drive was so far for me to get there. But
Is that
other
the
than
drug
that, I
testing?
mean, yeah, yeah. But that didn't last long. But other than that, I mean, just staying focused. Like I said, like in my mind, I had already made up my mind. So I was going to do it. I was going to finish it. I was going to get off my ankle monitor. Like these were things that were not an option to me. They were going to happen. And so I focused on it. And just this past summer, I wrote a petition to the judge to get off of my supervised release, and he denied it. So then, about 2 or 3 months later, I get a text message from my PO, and he's like, "Well, you're off paper." He's like, "I
Oh,
don't know
wow.
how this happened." That was his exact words. "I do not know how this happened, but I received an order today, and it was granted."
Wow.
So, because they had already denied it, and I didn't ask again, and so I don't. It had to be God. I don't really know what happened. He doesn't
Yeah.
know what happened. We just know that the judge signed it, and that was it. And really, I didn't feel any different because by this point, he's not, like, on top of me all the time anyway, so
Yeah. Wow.
traveling, I like to travel, and so I would hate having to, like, be like, "Okay, I'm gonna be here, I'm flying on this flight," and that was
Yeah,
the only thing that bothered me.
for sure. I can see why.
Yeah, not being able to just pick up and go when I wanted to.
Yep. So, what role did boundaries, especially with people and environments, play in protecting your recovery?
Huge. I mean, I cannot speak enough on boundaries and sticking to them. Like, I mean, I don't care if it's family, I don't care if it's your husband, I don't care if it's your own kids, you know? And I know people hear it all the time, but I'm telling you, a person that loves you and cares about you is not gonna try and get high with you. They're just not gonna do it. That's not love. Like,
No,
God didn't make that like, that's not love, you know?
no.
There's clear definitions in the Bible what love is, and that's definitely trying to, unalive somebody is not part of love. So, you just boundaries are so important. I could go on and on and on and on about them. And I'm not saying I haven't failed. I have failed, but the things that are most important to me, I kept those boundaries firm. And I just don't allow myself to be in a situation where I would go back down that road. And if I were to be somewhere and I seen something going, and it takes a lot of you just hanging out by yourself, you just hanging out with your spouse, you just hanging out with your kids. But that's what you should do.
Yeah,
Hang out with your family for a little while. You hung out in the streets long enough.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I promise you, friends are always going to be there.
Sometimes, sometimes they won't be.
Yeah, and you don't need them if they're not.
Exactly. So, how did family support help you stay grounded during reentry?
Oh, I feel like that's why I said if you don't have family support, I can see why people, it's extremely important to have people that hold you accountable, to have people to, lend a helping hand when you need it for whatever reason. And it's kind of humbling to see those same people that you hurt, the same people that you disappointed, still standing there. I think people take that for granted. I
Yeah.
can't stand when people, want to come on social media and be complaining, cussing their grandma, cussing their family because you just came home from prison and she won't hand you the keys to her car. Why would she?
Right.
She's not been in prison. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, you have. You owe it to these people to earn everything that they decide to help you with if
Yeah.
they're still there.
And then a lot of people think that they have it coming, right? Even after all the years of pain and hurt that they put their families through, like the stealing or lying or abuse, right? And they feel that they still have that coming when they get out. And then like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, some families still like enable them, right? Because that's
Oh,
enabling.
yeah.
Like you get
Oh,
out
they
of
enable them in
prison,
there.
yeah. Like your son or your daughter gets out of prison after doing this or that, but yeah, you're gonna go ahead and give them your bank card and your car and let them go about their way. Like, no,
Right.
you gotta have those boundaries.
I agree. And a lot of it too is especially, and you see this a lot with like your bigger drug dealers and stuff or whatever, they still owe them because when they were on, they took care of them. I paid your
Yeah,
rent. I bought that house. I bought your car. I did. Who cares?
yeah,
I mean, you don't have a pot to piss in now. So,
yeah,
but they demand that same respect. And granted, they should probably, help you, but that doesn't mean they hand you everything that they've had to work for. They've been raising your kids,
yeah, exactly.
you know?
So today, how do you define yourself beyond your past mistakes?
I think, I don't really know the answer to that. I don't really know how to say it without. I think that I like to help people, that I've always had a heart for wanting to help people. Um,
I was gonna say your actions today show, you know what I mean? Like your TikTok and all of that, like in your recovery, like it shows who you are now. You know what I mean? And you don't live in the past anymore, right? And like
but
you did a complete turnabout.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm proud of me. And,
Yeah,
I post things like that all the time. Like, I don't need you to believe in me because I believe in me.
yeah,
But at the same time, I still have a heart for people that are out here, addicted or out here in trouble, or moms out here that may never get their kids back, that have lost all hope. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that kind of stuff, I'm like rough around the edges and I can be not nice. I mean, some people say I'm not nice in other ways, not just because my attitude, but I don't mean to be that way. It's just, I'm always on guard for one. But when it comes to people who are struggling, moms, this, that, I want to help. I have a lot to say. I mean, I've got a lot of plans coming up this year that I'm trying to put into motion. And I'm finally ready to, talk about it and get out here and for the first time in my life, not care about what people think about me, what they say to me, whatever they know, that whatever, that's great. You know what I mean? And it's important to me. It's really important to me. Not everyone's going to agree with the way that I see things and the way that I feel that things should be, but it's not like I'm not speaking coming from a place of, not having no experience in it.
right.
'Cause there's a lot more to my life than what we can talk about in an hour or 2 or 10. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And a lot of things happened during those years, and someone said, "Well, it was only a few years." Yeah, a few years of complete chaos. Do you hear me? Being shot at, pistol whipped, jaw broke. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Just crazy.
yeah.
It's just a miracle that I'm standing here and I know what my assignment is and I have to execute the plan. Or it was
So
all in vain.
so if someone's listening and they're incarcerated or early in recovery, what truth do they need to hear right now?
You If I can do it, you can do it, and don't make excuses. There's not a excuse in this world that will ever make me side with you on going back to that life. There's nothing anyone can say to me that I'm going to say, oh, okay, well, that sounds like a good reason that you went back. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's no good reasons.
No
There's
good
not.
reason. Like you said, even you have a reason because you liked it. That's where you like to be. You thought it was
Yeah.
cool. You were
Yeah.
raised with it being put in your head that you're not a man unless you go to prison. And that's what's cool. That's what shows you're hard. That's what shows that demands respect. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but it's definitely not cool.
now.
Now it's not cool. It may have never been cool. You know what I mean?
But you got your street cred. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, like some people ask me like, well, do you regret this, and that? I don't regret anything at all because the position that I'm in today in life, I'm able to help more people that went down that same road than I would be able to if I didn't live this life. Because you
Right.
like when I was in rehab, there was this counselor lady instructor, and she was trying to tell us something. And I told her, look, no disrespect, but can I ask you a question? And she says, yeah, absolutely. I said, have you ever taken one hit off of a drug before? And she says, no. And I told her, then how can you sit there and tell us what and how we feel? She goes, oh, because I
Yeah.
read a book. And I told her, I'm sorry, but a book isn't going to cut it. Like,
No.
you have to have real life experience to speak on this.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
didn't like it. So yeah, I don't regret
You
anything in life that I've done because like now my like you said, I know my mission, I know my plan, and now it's time to get the mission completed. And
right.
it's gonna be a lifelong mission, because
Right.
there's
Oh yeah, for sure. It just keeps I mean, that's what I'm saying. If we didn't if not me and you and I say we, but if we the recovery, reentry community lived in experience people didn't exist, well then how would anyone going through it now be able to get help?
yep,
Because that kind of help that you're talking about, I went through that many, many times, and it literally falls on deaf ears. You're
yeah,
not going to sit here and tell me that you understand why I was sleeping in a house with no electricity and water,
right.
because you don't.
No,
And your mind's not wired to wrap your mind around why someone would make that decision without living it.
right. Yeah, it's
Yep.
crazy. That's all the questions I have. Do you have any questions for me?
No?
No? Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your testimony.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And you have a wonderful day.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you later.